Welcome everyone. Today finds me in Koresh State Park in Lee County, Florida. At one time, this place was thought, by some people anyway, to be the center of the universe. But it doesn't end there. That's just the beginning of our story. Our story about Koresh State Park actually starts in 1839 in the state of New York. That was when Dr. Cyrus Reed Teed was born. Well, he wasn't a doctor when he was born, but he did become a medical doctor. And like many men interested in science in the 1800s, one of his interests was also electricity. Many people had tinkered with electricity in the 1800s ended up electrocuting themselves. And although Dr. Teed didn't electrocute himself, he did give himself a tremendous jolt that knocked him unconscious. And while he was unconscious, he said he received divine illumination. A beautiful woman appeared to him, and she shared with him all the secrets of the universe. And she said it was his job to redeem humanity. Now that's a pretty heavy responsibility, the redemption of all of mankind, but he took it in stride, and he decided that he was going to locate the center of the universe, the place where Christ was going to return. So using something he called cellular cosmogony, he located this place on the map, just south of Fort Myers, Florida, as the center of the universe. And why not? If you're going to start a movement, you might as well put it in southern Florida, where it's nice and warm and sunny, especially if you're coming from New York. So he changed his name to Koresh. He moved down here, just south of Fort Myers, and he started the Koresh Unity Settlement. And they had some really wild beliefs. Besides believing that this was the center of the universe, they also believed that this was contained within a giant sphere. That's right. Koresh and his followers believed that the Earth was a giant spinning hollow sphere. And we were held inside through centrifugal force. So we were held on the inside of the sphere, and that was the ground that we stand on. And all of the heavens, the stars, the planets, the sun, everything except the moon, we'll get to that, were all suspended inside this hollow sphere. But the moon, well, the moon was nothing more than an illusion. And the Koresh movement was actually quite successful. They owned 360 acres of land, all of which eventually became this park. Now, I'm not sure exactly how they supported themselves, but I have seen a picture of Dr. Teed, or Koresh, standing with a giant fish. So it made me wonder if maybe fishing the Gulf of Mexico was one of the ways they earned their money. But this story gets even more interesting. And when some people doubted Koresh, he decided to provide proof. So he enlisted the aid of Professor Ulysses Grant Morrow, who worked at the Koresh College of Life. I guess they had their own college to prove that we were inside a hollow sphere. So Dr. Morrow created a device called a rectilineator, and he was going to prove that the Earth actually curved up 8 inches for every mile. So they set a point out in the horizon in the Gulf of Mexico, which is behind me, 4 miles away. And this contraption, the rectilineator, was made up of 10 T-squares, and they set it up on what sounds like a beautiful mahogany stand and bases. And they were going to prove with this contraption the curve of the Earth. And wouldn't you know, it took a long, long time because the rectilineator was only 12 feet long and they had to go 4 miles. And they constantly had to recalibrate and move all of these T-squares. But in the end, after months of a lot of hard work, they proved that the world did indeed curve up 8 inches every mile. Well, they probably didn't really prove anything. But when you're talking about the Koresh Unity Settlement, you have a whole community of believers, and they bought into the principle. What I never understood is how did they justify the setting of the sun each night if everything is inside a giant sphere? But if the moon's an illusion, I suppose you can get away with anything. Eventually, Dr. Teed or Koresh, explained that not only was this going to be the location of the second coming of Christ, but he himself was Christ reincarnated. Now, Dr. Teed, or Koresh, claimed to be immortal, and he said upon his death, he would become resurrected. And that day did finally come. December 22nd, 1908, Dr. Teed died. Well, of course, he was not resurrected. And although his followers held on to his body for several days after his death, the coroner eventually ordered that it be buried. Well, I guess I don't have to tell you that a lot of people lost faith in the Koresh movement after he didn't rise from the dead. An interesting side note, during World War II, the Nazis investigated a lot of claims of paranormal activity, and they actually looked into the Koresh movement and the hollow earth theory for a while. They thought, you know, if we could aim a telescope up into the heavens, we could shoot straight across the sphere and spy on the Americans. Of course, they didn't really look into this seriously, but they did look at a lot of occult and supernatural claims during that time period. The Unity settlement eventually started to lose followers until, in 1961, those that remained donated this land to the state of Florida, where this state park continues to bear the name Koresh State Park. So when you hear about these settlements, these communes, these cults, it's not some 1960s hippie thing. These have been around a long, long time. I hope you enjoyed our story of Dr. Cyrus Reed Teed, also known as Koresh. Please like and share the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe, ring that bell icon up above so you know when I post new videos, and leave your comments down below. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Mark with the Average Me channel.
Gentlemen, what you are all witnessing here and hearing is the literal prophetic fulfillment of God's written of me, Christ, concerning how I will return, and that this method of prophetic fulfillment has been divinely scripted to catch the religious scholars and the Christian eschatologists by surprise, since they never cared to truly search for me with all their heart, but were more concerned with impressing Bibles, churches, seminaries. You should have been looking at the only one who was logically, cogently, and beautifully displaying for you all to see a literal heaven residing in the earth. Job 38:33.